anytime the world is going to be built or broken down, the breakdown of societies, building up of societies is based on families.
Love and Life College, yes, focuses on marriage, but more importantly, we are focusing on love itself. And love is something that is required in every sphere of life. Today we are going to be starting the topic, his needs and her needs. That is the needs of a man and the needs of a woman. Why we're doing this particular topic today is because, let me say that again, people are married or are planning to marry, but not really with the mind of going to meet anybody's need. They are not planning to marry to add to somebody's life. If you ask them why are they getting married, the first thing they will say is not that they want to better that person's life, or that this is what I want to add to this person's life, or I'm preparing to go to serve this person. This person needs me in this way and I'm prepared to meet the need. That's one of the last things. Rather, you have people that tell you that, wow, I'm going to marry him, he's so nice, he's so caring. That's why they want to marry him. So that's pointing back to them. He's nice to me, he's caring to me, he's loving to me. They are not talking about what they will do to that person, but what they will get. So a lot of people are thinking of marriage as an opportunity to meet their needs, but not necessarily an avenue to meet the other's needs. And that's like living in fool's paradise. By the time we are through with this topic, you will have been able to identify what the needs of a man are, what the needs of a woman are, why you should prepare to meet someone's need. If you are ever thinking of having a family, you need to know what will be required of you. And then you need to prepare. It's one thing to know the need, it's another thing to know how to meet the need. And this is going to change our mentality. So you're not going to have a mentality of get it all. You are going to have a mentality of what you can give. So that is what this topic is going to do, among so many other things. So you must prepare to meet your spouse's need. If you don't meet your spouse's need, somebody else will meet the need. We are talking about good people. Even if the guy can't meet the need, why are you talking about somebody else? You should be faithful. The background to this topic is this. A lot of us, consciously or unconsciously, we don't realize that we are being selfish. If marriage is exclusively between two people, that means that when you marry a man, you are saying to him, the needs that you have, I'm the only one that will meet them. The needs that I have, you are the only one that will meet them and no other, because it is exclusive of every other person. It's just two of us. So when you marry this person and you have removed the person from circulation or from the possibility of having the needs met by any other person, we find out that more often than not, we are very selfish, because you get into the marriage and you feel, well, now I am in. I can't stress myself. You just take me as I am, manage me. Fine, nobody else can meet the need. But when I have time, I meet it. When I don't have time, I don't meet it. So it is wickedness. Because no other person can do for that person what you have covenanted to do. And even you that you have made the covenant to do it, you are not doing it. So it's sheer wickedness. So we need to identify what these needs are. And we need to know, why are we calling them needs? So that we can know, look at yourself and know whether at this rate, can I meet anybody's needs? Maybe I should just leave this marriage business. What is a need? A need is something a person requires or lacks. Usually a need is accompanied by an urge or a desire for that thing, like the need to eat. So a need is usually accompanied by an urge or a desire, and there is a necessity or justification for such urge or desire. That is, when you are expressing the desire for that thing, you are justified. A need is not something they will say, what is it? Is it not only food? The person is justified to want to eat, because it is a requirement, is a necessity, and there's a justification for that desire. We are trying to say that a need is a requirement, is something the person requires and probably lacks, and it is accompanied by an urge or a desire, and there is necessity or justification for such urge or desire. Now, what is the rationale for male and female having needs in the first place? We are complete in Christ. Are we really talking like believers, or are we really talking like people that have understanding of, being confident in yourself, having it all together? Why are we talking about needs? Because when you start talking about needs, you get this, it makes you vulnerable. If you could meet it on your own, it wouldn't be a need. So it puts you in a position that is vulnerable because you want something, or because you need something, you require something. Now, considering that male and female existed together before, when God made man, He made man male and female. If you look at Genesis 5:2, it says that in that day that God created mankind, He blessed them and He called them Adam. So that place is saying that when God created man, He called man Adam, and He made man male and female. So male and female, the word Adam there means mankind, was not referring to male, was referring to mankind. So when God made man, He made man in His image. That word man there, Adam, mankind, is not referring to gender, is referring to the species called man. And for God to have said He made man male and female, we can deduce that male and female were existing in one container when God made man. Yes, because if you read Genesis 1:26, God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let him have dominion. And He said all that, and He went ahead and He formed man, and He blessed him and He called him Adam, mankind. He had made all He was going to make. They were in Him. Genesis 5:2 specifically tells you that He blessed them male and female and called them Adam. So Adam originally was not referring to male or female, was referring to male and female. And we said even English will tell you why God said He made them male and female and not male or female. That's all will have made a difference. If God said God made man male or female, it means that man can either come as a male or come as a female. No, that's not how God made man. God made man, and man is male and female. That means what makes up mankind as far as God is concerned is male and female. No wonder 1 Corinthians 11:11 says, in God, the man is not independent of the woman, neither is the woman of the man. So when God looks at mankind, He's looking at male and female. And that is why we can understand when God was going to make a helper meet for him, and in Genesis 2, He had passed all the animals before Adam to see what He would call them, and no helper was found for him. He caused him to sleep, and what did He do? He went inside him and brought out the female part of him and put her in another casing and brought her to him. And immediately Adam woke up. He looked at this species and he said, this is me. This came from me. He recognized himself. Say, this is me, and she'll be called woman because she came out of me. So he recognized her, and the Bible says that for this cause will a man leave his father and his mother and be joined. So that is why when you say 1 + 1 is 1, so when a man and a woman come together in union, they just go back to what God had in mind for mankind to be. So considering that male and female existed together before, until an appropriate female is found by a male, it is natural to feel a need for such female or the things that only such a female can offer. Now, a time comes in a man's life or in a woman's life when he begins to feel a need for some kind of companion or for someone other than his mother or his father, and is definitely not his male friend. He begins to feel a need for the opposite sex. There is nothing wrong with that desire because it is divine, it is natural. Something came out of him, and a time comes to realize that this couldn't be all there is to me. I need somebody. So considering that, then it is natural for a male to feel the need for such a female or the things that only such a female can offer. So we know that ever since God removed Eve from Adam, the Bible says He covered it with flesh back. So that is the rationale for such a thing that only that person can offer, because there's that feeling that you are not complete. Now, we said a need is a requirement. So we've explained the rationale for the need. So there's a justification for needing a woman or needing a man. Why are we using the word requirement? Because it means something else. We are not just saying he needs that person or she needs that person or she needs something that person can offer. We are saying that he or she requires it. Now, the word requirement takes us to another level. It means that for such a male or female, now anywhere you see male, it could be female, I'm just using one. It means that for such a male to function properly, that need must be met. If it is not met, there is a void, there is a dissatisfaction, and there is a tendency to want more or something else to fill it. A need is compulsory. So we are saying that these needs that we are about to look at, they are a requirement. We are preparing your mind to have a heart that is going to meet needs, a heart that is going to serve, a heart that is going to be a blessing, because selfish people cannot make great lovers. So if everything is directed towards yourself, you are not going to have a happy home. You have to begin to look at yourself and say, do I have this heart that wants to give? Do I have this heart that realizes that this man needs some things? As a woman, am I conscious of the fact my existence alone is to meet his need? As a man, am I conscious of the fact that this woman that God is going to give to me, she has some needs that I must be ready to meet? Now, if both male and female have this consciousness, we will have our homes filled with love, because it will be a give and take. It will be mutual. It won't just be somebody slaving away. So that is a good way to have a good home. When both people understand that they are bringing something to the table, then we have matured people. We have people that are selfless in their thinking, and that's the kind of man you should be. That's the kind of woman you should be. Now, differentiate a need from a want. Because having said all that, you must understand that I didn't use the word want. I said need. So not because I didn't realize that we could use want as a synonym. In this case, it's not a want, it's a need. There's no alternative for a need. Either that thing or nothing else. But once a need, you have no alternative. Let's look at different types of needs. Qualification of needs. There are needs in our lives, and we know that there are so many things we need. We have left wants alone now. It's just good that you know difference. There are some needs that only God that made us that can meet them. And there are needs that others can meet. Family, your spouse, your partner, people. And it's good for us to know the difference very early in our lives. Because if we don't know the difference, what will happen? There are some needs in your life we know is a need, but that one only God can do it for you. And there are some, yes, people can do those needs. It's still God ultimately, but God can still use people. But there are some, it has to come from God direct and God alone. If we don't know the difference between the two, when you have a particular need, you have to be able to ask yourself whether this is a need that only my creator, my maker can meet, or this is a need that someone else can meet. If you don't know the difference, what will happen is that you will become a very demanding person. Everybody around you, they are not comfortable because you just feel they should be able to give you more. They should be able to do more. And these are things that no human being can do it for you. So you have to be sure that God is meeting those needs. Otherwise, you'll be demanding from a human being what only God can give. And what will be the result of that? After a while, when the person cannot handle it, he will try and escape or dodge. This one will kill me with, I don't know what else to do. I've done my best. Usually that's when things like that will start happening. You thought that being in a relationship will solve all the problem. You enter the relationship now. You are not happy. You know it happens. You are not happy again. Say, so this is even the relationship self that they have been saying. Why? Because you had some other expectation. Probably you thought that when you get into the relationship, in fact, you just be floating. You know, maybe you thought you just be passing more. I don't know. Without reading your books. We just have this understanding that everything will just be fine automatically. And it's not true. Happily ever after. Your Prince Charming will just come and it's just the answer to everything. In fact, since he came, I'm not sad again. I'm always happy. I have everything. Only God can do some things in your life. You must recognize that. Otherwise, you'll be a very unhappy partner. And when you have an unhappy spouse, there's nothing as terrible as that. She's not fighting you. Get what I'm saying? He's not fighting you. That partner is not fighting you. Not necessarily making trouble. Some may make trouble. But when you have a partner that is just not happy, or you are a partner that you are just not happy, there's nothing as terrible as that. And that means that if you are someone now that is difficult to make you happy, small time now we are laughing. Before we know it, your mood has changed. What happened? I don't know. You yourself, you don't know what happened. What is it? You want ice cream? No. Is it bread? No. You want to go out? No. Leave me alone. If he should dare leave you alone. Although he said he should go. But if he should go, I said he should go and he went. What do you want him to do? So if we don't deal with these things in our lives, you just find out that you are a partner that frustrates that person. Because you are so difficult to satisfy. I went for a bridal shower. I was asked to give a talk. The lady in Ogun State, she was getting married, so organized something for her. And they asked me to come and talk. And people were now making comments about the lady. And someone said something that I felt it was very pleasant. They said she's easily satisfied. It's a decision. You can be such a demanding person, or you can be someone that is a pleasure to be with. And usually the problem is when we don't know that there are some needs that only God can meet, and there are some needs that man can meet. When you realize that this need is God, you will face God. And even when you are sad because of something between you and God or whatever, you will not vent it on somebody else. You will not feel that everybody should pay for your unhappiness. Everybody should pay for what is wrong with you. You just put that aside and be a delight to be with. It's a conscious thing. It doesn't just happen. You must do it deliberately. You must work at it. And especially if you have a relationship with Christ, that fruit will be reproduced in you.